The materialization medium, Helen Duncan, was investigated by the LSA. An examination of Duncan's ectoplasm revealed it was made of cheesecloth, paper mixed with the white of egg and lavatory paper stuck together. It was bog roll, guys, not ectoplasm. British medium Ivy Northage reveals how a system of helpers heal those spirits who have passed on from an accident. Oh, that's healing people after they've died. Surely that's a bit of a cop-out at that point. Merge. Just warming up my voice. Hello, lovely people. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Emma. Welcome if you are new. Today, I just lost momentum and went brain dead in like a flash there. Today, we're going to be looking at the College of Psychic Studies. I find the concept of a psychic college so fascinating. Its history is actually, I think, really interesting, so indulge me if you will, or you can skip that chapter. I don't really mind. If you've been here for a while, you'll know that I have particular interests in skepticism in general. For a myriad of reasons, I am probably overly skeptical. That's a flaw of mine that I accept. That being said, I think theories about the universe, ideas, potential interesting explanations for why things happen that we can't explain, I think it's fascinating. I love supernatural stuff. I did a ghost hunt. Spirits confirmed. Me. So it was a paranormal investigation. I shouldn't call it a ghost hunt. We weren't hunting. That sounds very aggressive. I love that kind of thing. I think it's really interesting. From my perspective, it's not that I don't believe in the supernatural, the paranormal, it's that I believe the explanations lie more in the power of the human brain, the human psyche's amazing ability to convince itself of things, our ability or problem that creates, hallucinations. I think all that stuff is absolutely fascinating. To me, that's just as interesting as the idea that it is a spirit or a ghost causing some paranatural? Just combined supernatural and paranormal into paranatural. I quite like that. That's a good term for a fiction about the paranatural world. Did you know I'm writing an urban fantasy novel? We're coming up for National Novel Writing Month again, and I am desperate to please just get draft 1 finished. I'm so close, sort of. So the supernatural, the paranormal, psychic studies. I think it's very interesting. I think there can be a lot of personal value that people get out of exploring these avenues. I've talked a little bit in the past about how I think tarot for personal use can be a brilliant tool for understanding yourself, because at the end of the day, what you're doing is thinking through your own problems. My personal, very basic version of this is the old coin toss. If I can't decide between 2 options, I'll flip a coin, and it's not what the coin lands on, but my feeling when it lands that makes the decision for me. If it lands on one side and I'm disappointed, I know it's the other one that I wanted. If I truly have no feelings one way or the other, then the coin makes the choice for me. However, another facet of my identity is that I have a serious interest in consumer protection. So my skeptic nature and my love of consumer protection collide when it comes to anything like psychic readings online. I'll draw your life partner. That's one I've seen a number of times. Selling courses in the psychic arts. Which brings us to the College of Psychic Studies, a whole non-profit organisation dedicated to putting on talks and courses and classes in the various areas of spiritualism. We'll take a look at the website in a minute to see exactly what they offer. My first thought with this was, I'll take one of their classes to see what it's like, to see how it compares to online classes I've taken in other fields, how it compares to a regular college, etc., etc. They're so expensive that I have not done that. If you see any today that you really want me to take a look at, put it in the comments below. We'll do a fundraiser. Because I have not got the pocket change to pay for courses at the College of Psychic Studies. Good lord. Before we dive in today, I am very pleased to tell you that today's video is sponsored by Dragon Mania Legends. I want to answer the most important question first before we get into any of the other details. Can you pet the dragons? Yes, you can. One of the ways you can earn coins is by giving your dragons a little tickle, and they go like... It's extremely cute. Dragon Mania Legends is a simulator game. You have this beautiful archipelago in Dragonlandia where you can raise all your lovely little friends. You have farms where you grow food for them, you train them up to be big and strong, and then you can send them off to fight the horrible, stinky Vikings, and also other people who may or may not be stinky Vikings. I don't know. I haven't pried into their personal lives. There are a stupid amount of dragons. There are more than 1,000 dragons that you can collect. You breed different types together and then raise up the little babies. They're so cute. There is so much going on all the time. There are all these different events, mini games, different types of battles. You can also spend a lot of time obsessively reorganizing your archipelago, if you're so inclined. I really like the Star Dragon because he has this adorable side eye, so I made him my personal icon. He's got that look, you know? You can also rename all your dragons, by the way. So if you wanted to name them all after your current musical theatre obsessions, you could do that. Hypothetically. Now is a fantastic time to join. October is bringing lots of new updates and events. You can create your own clan and invite your friends. The more you do these things, the more powerful you'll become. As a special treat just for my silly little guys, if you sign up using my link, you will get access to the devil himself. By which I mean the devil dragon. And also 100k gold and 50k food. It's a hell of a start. You can raise that devil up a big strong boy. This is a great way to dive into the game. That extra food and gold and a powerful dragon will get you right in there. You can speed along, get properly fighting, and also upgrade your farm and decorate your island. It doesn't have to be violent, but it can be. Check out the description and the pinned comment for that download link, or use the QR code on screen. Check out Dragon Mania Legends, be my friend. Most importantly, give them a tickle from me. Thank you so much for listening, and to Dragon Mania Legends for sponsoring this video. Okay, I've eaten a piece of dried fruit. I've just spilled my coffee on my hand, and I've spilled my coffee. That was me about to say, I'm ready to talk about the history of the College of Psych, but I'm not, because I have to clean up this coffee spill. So the College of Psychic Studies originated in 1884. That's ages ago. In 1884, it was known as the London Spiritual Alliance. This organisation was created by members of the British National Association of Spiritualists, the BNAS, the B-Team, if you will. Their activities included experimental seances and investigations into mediumship. Kinda cool. Kind of thing you'd love to write a novel about. Kind of thinking I'm going to have to write a lot of notes after this because this is cool. As a foundation, this is cool. It gets cooler. So within the B-Team was a scientific research committee. Their whole vibe was more akin to my kind of skepticism. They would perform experiments that weighed mediums while they were doing seances. Specifically, materialization seances. So where a medium's spiritual experience provided some kind of matter, typically ectoplasm, this branch of the B-Team would sit in to experiment to identify whether that was legitimate. This was a little controversial within BNAS. Not everyone approved of the experimentation. A chap called William Henry Harrison, who was involved in the scientific research committee, caused a bit of a stink by exposing a fraudulent spirit photographer by the name of Frederick Hudson. There was a leadership dispute and Harrison was ejected from BNAS, which is a shame because he seems like the best boy. Various conflicts caused the group to dissolve, and we ended up reforming in 1884 as the London Spiritualist Alliance. I don't know why I struggle to remember that so much. LSA. It's not BNAS, is it? As the LSA, they obtained some pretty high-profile members. There was more controversy with claims of certain people being fraudulent and what have you. Seems like a lot of the organisation turned on the people making the claims of fraudulence. Don't love that. Downturn for the society, IMO. Here's the part of the LSA that some of you might just be familiar with. Rolling all the way ahead to 1925, who should become president of the LSA? But Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. The more I read about the history and the people involved, the more I'm like, I want to be in the London Spiritualist Alliance, but I'm not a spiritualist. Dang it. That was the time that they bought a new headquarters in South Kensington, where they are still based. This is just a funny aside that I learned from the Wikipedia article. Between October 1930 and June 1931, the materialization medium, Helen Duncan, was investigated by the LSA. Good job, LSA. Despite early favourable reports, which kind of proves that a lot of the system of examining mediums is maybe not that reliable. An examination of Duncan's ectoplasm revealed it was made of cheesecloth, paper mixed with the white of egg and lavatory paper stuck together. It was bog roll, guys, not ectoplasm. In 1955, the LSA changed its name to the College of Psychic Science, which I'm not that mad about, because it sounds like they were pretty into experimentation. So, around that time, they started to accept non-spiritualist members, spiritualism being the religion. In the 1960s, there was a revival in spiritualism, because 60s, hippy-dippy good times. The college associated itself with the Society for Psychical Research, collecting thousands of case files. In 2006, the college offered 12 courses on psychic abilities. April 2021, the college relaunches their website with a whole heap of online courses. This is during the pandemic. What a great way to bring in money. Now they're doing courses, events, talks, online and in person, on anything and everything that you can imagine within the spiritualist sphere, the psychical world. Psychical is not an easy word for me to say. So let's just take a little look at the website, shall we? What does the College of Psychic Studies have to offer? Exploring consciousness since 1884. Look, we can book a weekend of psychic mediumship in November. How exciting. Courses, workshops, talks, special events. This is what I'm saying, there's so many. Here's just a glimpse of 3, right? Palm reading for beginners. Learn to read more than just the life and love lines and discover the connection between the hands and the brain. That makes it sound so scientific. A 10-week online palm reading course for beginners. Let's just start right there and see the details, aka the price. Here's, I guess, our teacher. This is an open-level course. £240. It's about $290, just over $290. Master Palmist. I feel like the term Master Palmist could have multiple meanings. Master Palmist Robin Lown will introduce you to the world of palmistry and palm reading. You will start to understand both your own and other people's life patterns and what nature intended for our talents and potential in the world. That imposes a consciousness on nature and an involvement in individual lives by nature that I find very baffling. Because we are nature. Like, it's all nature. Are the worms invested in my talents and what? I'm just trying to understand, do the trees and the worms and the leaves want me to be like a financial advisor? You know, like, I'm trying to understand the concepts that we're just sort of hinting at here. I think maybe part of the problem is people don't look that deep at what's being said. By integrating the best of both Eastern and Western traditions, i.e. by mixing up all our favourite and best sounding bits. There's no basis in reality for any of this. Okay. Oh, there's a video on what to expect. Okay, fine. Let's look at this video on palmistry and then we'll know what the video quality is like for all of them. Skip to the end.
And the other bit...
Here he is.
Palmistry's been around for thousands of years, and particularly the word palmistry, you can hear it, can't you? Palm, which is Greek, and the other bit afterwards means to study. So...
What a fucking nerd! I'm just kidding.
Studying hands has been around for thousands of years. Science has begun to measure and test out, and it's the measure and test which is actually showing now that the connections between old-fashioned palmistry and what we know today as decoding the hand are actually notions born in science. They do work out.
Okay. Cool. It's science. Let's just double check that. As discussed earlier, one of my problems, overly skeptical. So when a palmistry master, a master palmist, says studying the palms is science, I have this need to double check. Oh, his name's Robin, I think. His name's Robin. I thought it was Robert, and then for a second I thought it was Roger. I'm so sorry, Robin. Oh look, you could hire a palmist on Fiverr. There are many and often conflicting interpretations of various lines. No! Scientific literature typically regards palmistry as pseudoscientific or superstitious. Hundreds of studies have shown that the ratio of index finger to ring finger length correlates with many traits. Most researchers believe that this is because the ring finger's length indicates prenatal testosterone exposure, which is known to have lasting influence. One study found that people who consume large amounts of salt and preservatives leave sweatier, saltier fingerprints. We are learning today. So there might be some science behind digit ratios. This is a really interesting piece of writing by a psychologist and skeptic, Ray Hyman. I started reading palms in my teens as a way to supplement my income from doing magic and mental shows. When I started, I did not believe in palmistry. After a few years, I became a firm believer. One day, the late Stanley Jacks, who was a professional mentalist and a man I respected, tactfully suggested it would make an interesting experiment if I deliberately gave readings opposed to what the lines indicated. I tried this out with a few clients. To my surprise and horror, my readings were just as successful as ever. Ever since then, I have been interested in the powerful forces that convince us, reader and client alike, that something is so when it really isn't. So basically, there are some studies that indicate a link between the length of digits, particularly it seems in men. None of the things that I just glanced at seem to study women, but specifically in men, a link between the length of the digits and certain traits. Specific studies and specific traits, but interesting nonetheless. Regardless, things like love lines and telling your career path and how many children you'll have and everything else I've seen from palm readists there's no basis in reality for that. I feel ever so slightly misled by Robin, because I'll bet those studies are the sort of science he's referring to. But I'll also bet that what he teaches is not just that some studies show, the length of one digit compared to another shows this. I bet he'll be saying, and this line stretching in this direction indicates that you're a silly bean. Only 240 quid for do you know what? For a 10-session course. Granted, it's a course in bullshit, so that lowers the value a little bit, but for a 10-session course in something, 240 quid is kind of alright. Thanks, Robin. What else have we got? How to connect with angels. Now, this is something I'm pretty confident doesn't have a basis in science. A 6-week live stream course that introduces you to working with the angels and archangels. It's amazing that a complete beginner could speak with angels and archangels. Liesl Duffy will guide you through the fundamentals of opening the doorway to the angelic realm for only £175. So that probably is about $200. Week 1. Who are the angels? Listening to the inner voice. Clearing and preparing the space, centering and grounding for enhancing intuitive sensitivity and protection. Using your energy field to sense and connect with guardian angels and how to receive. Isn't it weird for God to have presented us all with a guardian angel, and or, depending on your belief system, for guardian angels to exist for each of us? And yet, we can only learn how to access them and get their guidance by paying £175 to do an online lecture series at the Psychic College London. That just seems like not very intuitive, unless the guardian angels are getting a cut. Oh! New conspiracy just dropped. Energetic housekeeping. Sensing different angelic energies and how they share guidance. So many lovely beginners courses that are open to everyone. You don't have to have any level of knowledge or skill. All you have to have is £175. Ooh, this is the kind of stuff that makes me so mad, because this kind of thing, right, I mean, palmistry is just kind of whatever. It's not so bad. I mean, it's still getting money by, we just heard a great example, it's getting money from people who don't know any better, taking advantage of their spiritualism, whatever. But something like how to connect to angels, like, who is going to be looking for a guardian angel? Somebody who is a bit lost, somebody who is lonely, somebody who is desperate in a bad situation. It's taking advantage of those people for money. A lot of money. That's gross. I hate that. That's exactly the kind of problem I have with psychic classes, psychic teachers. Blah. Gross. They do a tarot diploma. I could do that. I know tarot. Sort of. I'd need to practice a bit. Our tarot diploma certifies you to work professionally as a tarot reader. I'm 100% certain, because I looked this up a while ago, I had an idea of like seeing how easy it would be to become a professional psychic. And then I looked into it and I realized that there's not even, that there might be one or two volunteer bodies, but they aren't really large enough to be like, you know, like in other areas of study. For example, nutrition. I learned this a while ago. We've talked about this with regards to multi-level marketing schemes and health and wellness scams. Nutritionist is not a protected term. However, there is a voluntary register for nutritionists which has quite high standards, which requires you to have studied, you know, at least a 2 or 3 year course in nutrition and to have certain understandings. So if you're somebody who is seeking a nutritionist, you can look them up, and if they're on that voluntary register, you know that they have at least these qualifications. When it comes to being a psychic, and I don't really know why I expected otherwise, there's nothing. You don't need anything. You just be a psychic. You just sign up, you go on one of those websites that hosts like online psychics or phone psychic readings or whatever. You put yourself on Fiverr. It doesn't matter. You start a blog. You can just be a sidekick. A sidekick? A sidekick in my own story. You can just be a psychic and start charging money for it with that. You don't have to do any training. So it's very interesting that they're offering a tarot diploma. I mean, it's one of those things where, at least according to whatever function, there is like a technical skill in terms of learning the cards and the layouts and things. I guess there's that. Again, I hate the idea of people being professional tarot readers. I think tarot can be really pretty, and fortunately it is typically vague enough that it's not that different from horoscopes. You can kind of pull what you want from it and it's not so bad. How easy is it to give someone completely the wrong idea, the worst advice, because they're struggling, grieving, you know, they're in some emotional distress, and they seek you, a professional tarot reader, out, and your cards happen to suggest that they should start fresh in a new town, or, you know what I mean? Like, there's so many ways it could go wrong because there is no basis in reality. There is no, like, ethical guideline. Psychic artists, let's call them, are beholden to the same trading laws as everyone else, which is good. They can't claim medical benefit, although many of them do. Again, it is not very easy to actually persecute people who are breaking these laws. That goes for regular companies as well as psychic ones, unfortunately. But outside of, like, doing something really criminal, like outright lying, you can just give people insane, out there life advice readings based on bullshit. Based on your own imagination. Some people might believe that that imagination is actually the spirits guiding their hands, or whatever they believe. That doesn't change the reality, you know? I just find it so gross and so frightening. I learned to, this says a lot about me, I learned to cold read when I was a teenager. As soon as I learned how easy it was, I was fascinated and horrified, because it really is so fucking easy to be a psychic. I could have people convinced today if I started my psychic services. Easy. It is that fucking easy. You can be a charlatan, you can be a complete believer. The danger is exactly the same. That's the worst part of it. What does consultations mean? Need some expert guidance and support? Book a private session with one of our highly qualified consultants, whether online, in person, or by phone. Oh, so you can talk to the experts in their particular area for anywhere from £75 to £115. Look at this guy. Look at Andreas in his hat. Norse mythology tuition. See, that's cool. Norse mythology, Viking art, runes, folklore, and more. See, my eye was drawn to him looking like a cool guy. That's actually cool. This is the kind of thing that makes it so awkward. Because it is so broad, you can have stuff like folklore. Like, the history of psychic studies, I think, would be really interesting. I would go to that sort of class. A history of belief in angels. Anything kind of historical, factual, even if the palmistry one did a class on those studies that we talked about earlier. I think that could be really interesting. But it's mixed with, like, how to contact your guardian angel. So it just, like, anything that is kind of legitimate and sounds kind of cool is, like, instantly kind of ruined for me because the same college offers, like, total bullshit that could be really dangerous. I find it confusing and disappointing. Like, you could be someone who goes to loads of these classes and courses and also think that some of the courses they do are bullshit. To be fair, I now realise that that is probably the same in, like, a physics college or a philosophy college. So maybe that doesn't actually matter as much as I think it does. Oh, they have a library of recordings. A guided experience of psychic sleep. What the fuck is psychic sleep? Oh, if you're a member, you get some of these for free. And you get some of them for free anyway. Evolution from human to divine. They're selling a class on how to be a god, and it's only £18, guys. Following the North Star with poetry, music, and myth. That sounds great. Glimpses of Mary Magdalene, I bet, is really interesting. I'd love to go to that class. Can anyone be a psychic? Can anyone be a medium? I bet they'll say yes because they make money from people learning to be a medium. Of course they're gonna say yes. Healing with the Spirit Doctor team? Would you like to experience healing from a group of multi-dimensional beings known as the Spirit Doctor team? Are these human beings that have multi-dimensional powers? Or are they, like, are they saying, we have, again, it's like Control and the board. If you've not played Control and you're interested in this kind of thing, you should really check it out. Watch some gameplay of it, I'm telling you. Maybe I should record some. No, it's too hard. This is so bizarre. I really want to know what this is like, but I wouldn't be able to share it because it's a members only thing. So I'm pretty sure it would be against the rules to actually share that with you. That is bizarre. Susan Gash introduces the Spirit Doctor team, shares how they work, and gently guides you into an experiential healing session with them. What? Isn't that illegal though? If they're claiming healing powers? I'm pretty sure that's against the law. Or is it just vague enough to get away with it? Join our newsletter for updates on our healing courses. How can healing courses be allowed? All they'd have to do is claim they meant, like, spiritual and emotional healing, right? And that it's like a meditative practice or something. I'm sure there are ways. This is the thing, this stuff is so wishy-washy and vague that you can get away with it so easily. I can't believe that's a real thing. Healing with the Spirit Doctor team? Oh, that pisses me off. Healing in the spirit world. British medium Ivy Northage reveals how a system of helpers heal those spirits who have passed on from an accident. Oh, that's healing people after they've died. Surely that's a bit of a cop-out at that point. How your body talks to you and how you can talk back. Again, depending on where that kind of information comes from, I can see that being nice and useful for a lot of people. Magical space clearing. That's like fucking waving around the time or whatever it is. Learning about crystals for grounding and protection. Manifestation. You'll know I love manifestation. 100% bullshit. Oh, I hate manifestation. The idea that you are in any way responsible for the things that happen to you outside of your control is such a dangerous, just load of bollocks. I hate it. More Norse mythology, Norse myths and music by the fireside. That sounds great. If that was like hosted by a different service, how am I trying to say this? If it wasn't that this is all one service, and I knew that I could pay for a class in Norse mythology, say, without funding an organisation that also practices spirit healing, then I would love to. But because it's all packaged together, I can't, in good conscience, be an active member of this society. The decline of the White Witch in the Bible and beyond. That sounds really interesting. This lecture discusses the transformation of the White Witch into a malevolent female figure. I'd love to learn about that. Damn it. You know what I mean? That's the most disappointing thing for me is, well, the most disappointing isn't the word, but the worst thing for me is that it's teaching people to be psychics that sell psychic services to people who are in desperate situations. That's the terrible thing. The disappointing part is that they do interesting stuff alongside that. So do you do the interesting stuff and kind of ignore the rest of it and say that there's just some lecturers and some types of things that you don't like? Like, how do you... Oh, they've got a welcome video. We should watch the welcome video. What's the difference between psychic and mediumship? Mediums deal with the next world, while psychics are centered on this one. Okay. Numerology. Don't talk to me about numerology. Let's watch the welcome video. I'm sorry, I saw numerology and I got upset. It's gonna do this intro again. It's a bit much, isn't it? It's a bit much. It's just a bit much.
Why would you buy a Mini when you could drive a Rolls Royce? I think is probably the thing to say. But, I mean, the college is the best in the world.
So, why would you book a course on this site? Because it's way better. And I bet 90% of the time this is true, than just, like, doing some shitty online course from a blog. Probably fair enough, actually, to say that.
It has the best facilities, it has the best courses. It is the best in the world.
Well, if you've never done anything before, I would look at the introductory courses and
No fucking shit! If you've never done anything, you should do beginner. So I could do this. Look, I'm already, I feel like I'm in, like, the right kind of outfit. With my glasses and this sweater, this morning I thought I was looking like Milo from Atlantis, but now I'm kind of thinking I look like I could be a professor, and also Sean Connery. I could be a professor at the College of Psychic Studies. What do you think? I got my, like, library sweater on. I think I could go in for being a professor here. All I'd have to do is speak a bit more British RP, I think, and then possibly gesticulate a little bit more with my hands. And really, it's quite wonderful because the college is simply the best in the world. You'll simply never get better. It's like the choice between a Ferrari and a Mini. I could do it. Easy. Sign me up, bitch. I'll teach a tarot course. Everyone who thought that my natural voice is British RP is now quaking at the realisation that I have quite a common tongue.
on meditation, which is very important too. There are courses on grounding and protection too, just to kind of...
Oh, you've got to have protection. You simply can't step into the world of the psychic arts if you don't have protection.
Get a glimpse in what everything entails too. Because the beginners, intermediate and advanced courses are really for people who've done a little bit before.
Captain Obvious wins the day.
Anything that is psychic intuitive goes on that creative border. So you should be having fun. So when you're looking for something, I always say look for something that you think you're really going to have a bit of fun with. You're going to meet new people. It's interesting.
Don't put all your eggs in this being a fucking profession, because there are 10 billion psychics. On every corner of the earth, there is somebody selling psychic services, and the chances of you becoming outstanding in your field, much like the Scarecrow, are very slim. I mean, that's good advice for any online learning service, right? Do something that you'll find fun. I think that should be advice in, like, picking a career and in hobbies and stuff in life in general. Just overall, do shit that would be fun. But this is definitely a, like, don't count on this becoming a job, an area of expertise for you, disclaimer.
Don't look for an outcome, because you don't actually know how your gift will grow. It's not for you to decide.
You might be shit. And if you're total shit, darling, then you can't do it. You simply can't. The spirits might have you down as a bit of an idiot. And then you simply can't put all your eggs in that basket of becoming a psychic professional.
You've got to allow it to happen. So the first step is do something basic, introductory. So only a few weeks, see where you go, and then you'll find...
It's only a few weeks, it's only a few £100. Just see how you get on with it, darling. I think a lot of psychic stuff appeals to people who have a bit of a disposable income. I mean, there's the obvious, right? There's people who are seeking psychic services who are more likely to be a bit desperate, whatever. And then there's people who are, like, moderately wealthy housewives who are looking for an outlet, like she described, like a way to meet new people and have a bit of fun and maybe make a bit of money, who think that, you know, the spiritual is just very interesting and I've got this money from my husband's well-paying job. You know, not obviously that is a sweeping statement. Not everybody who studies psychic courses is like that. And as we've discussed, there are plenty of courses on this website that I think are really cool and interesting. So it's not like everybody here is training to become a psychic either. But in general, I do think there is an appeal to the middle class.
Find the next step.
Let me know if you disagree. I'm open to hearing it.
The other real gift of the college is community. And what happens, I see so often the students come in, it's actually very beautiful to watch, that they start making friends, they start really...
That's fair enough, okay? That is a good thing about doing any class, any college course, right? Every time I do an acting class, my musical theatre group, we become best buddies. As soon as you sung solos in front of a group of people, you bonded for life, okay? You know what I mean? That's kind of like, you don't have to go to the College of Psychic Studies to do that. You could go to a free class at the library on something legitimate and find that community and friendship, right? It doesn't have to be, that's not something special about the College of Psychic Studies.
They're getting to know other people. They go, oh, that happens to me. They suddenly don't feel so maybe strange or so lost as when
they don't feel like such a freak, because everybody here experiences psychic phenomena, darling. That's how we know that this is our calling. I'm turning into a Joanna Lumley a little bit. Lovely.
they're around people that are also having similar experiences, that are on a similar...
People with similar delusions. I have friends, and I have had friends who have considered themselves to have some abilities outside of the norm, and there is nothing wrong with that. That can be perfectly fine, especially because those friends of mine were not selling those services to other people, right? That's the main issue I have. But there's just no room when it comes to... This is my problem, right? When it comes to something like the College of Psychic Studies, even though it originated with this... experimentation mindset and this desire to investigate fraudulent mediums and things like that, even though that was its origins, within this state where they are selling all these different kinds of courses, they're sort of implying all of this is real. They're definitely not doing any experimentation into false mediums anymore, which is a damn shame, because that sounds like the only good thing about it, you know? There's no room for other interpretation. So you go to this, and then you're reinforcing each other's beliefs. Oh, you experienced that thing too. Me too. It must be psychic energy. It must be our guardian angels, etc., etc., etc. There's no room for going, maybe I am in a state of grief. Maybe this is not always the case. The human brain does all kinds of crazy things in all kinds of crazy situations, but sometimes it might be a mental health issue. And people aren't going to investigate that avenue if they're all reinforcing each other that, no, it's the psychic arts. I'm a medium. It's mediumship. That is so worrying to me.
Similar journey.
The tutors that we have here are experienced. They know their subject, whatever their subject may be.
Like, it's a college. They're putting on lectures. Isn't it a given that the people teaching are experienced and know their field? Like, it's more worrying to me that you would point that out. Like, surely you have some other compliments to give. There are some other things you can say other than, these lecturers actually know what they're talking about. Duh, they should. They're teaching it to other people. They should know what they're talking about. I've gone about 3 octaves up with irritation.
They've been tested before they've taken on as tutors, so you can be absolutely sure that you've got a good tutor.
Oh, I'd love to hear more about that. So maybe they do testing. What do they mean they've been tested? How do you test someone on something that you cannot prove? Oh, this is interesting. I want to know how they test. Oh, I can send them a message. I'll let you know if and when I hear back. How interesting. What a fascinating thing to say. I wasn't expecting that at all. It blows what I was just saying completely out of the water, depending on what the testing is. Again, I'm not super confident in their ability to test, and who's doing the testing is also a matter for discussion, but that is something that is very interesting. Nobody's going to be vomiting cheesecloth disguised as ectoplasm at the College of Psychic Studies. Well, I'm glad they had that little welcome video. This could be like a 12-part series, right? Because I'm so interested in what's the difference between psychic and mediumship. I'm so interested in loads of these like free taster videos and just looking up the background to stuff that they claim they can teach. If you want to look more into the College of Psychic Studies and/or different areas of psychic study in general, let me know down below, because I think this is so cool and interesting and also terrifying and deeply worrying for psychic consumers. That makes it sound like they're consuming like psychic, like energy vampires. That's not exactly what I mean. Although I bet a compelling enough speaker could probably assert that energy vampires are indeed a real phenomenon and sell a 10-part lecture series on it for only £310. There you go, College of Psychic Studies London. Thank you so much for watching. Do consider subscribing to this channel if you aren't already. It helps me out, it means you won't miss future videos. If you like what I do here and you would like to support it, help me pay for online courses in becoming a psychic. I managed to mix the words classes and courses into clauses. No one's going to become a member now. You can become a channel member. You get some silly little emotes and comment priority. The best way to support this channel is via the Patreon. We have some exclusive videos, posts. I'll post merch there early. I'm going to be at MCM Expo in London this month, so if you are going, I will post details of the meet and greet to my community tab. Keep an eye out. I should be on the website at some point as well. Exciting! I'm going to dress up. I'm going to do the whole thing. I think MCM stands for, every time I mention it, somebody wants to know what it stands for. I think it stands for movies, comics, media, manga. It's a comic convention. Film, TV, anime, all that stuff. You get it. Doesn't stand for macho man. If you're not sick to death of me already, you can find my gaming channel on YouTube at Little Duck Gaming. I've been playing a lot of cute, silly stuff lately and getting back into the Sinking City, which is a bit Lovecraftian. If the Miskatonic University is more your bag, then you probably want to check out my gaming stuff. I also stream a few times a week on Twitch at Emma Little Duck. We have a good time. You can bully me live. I'd also love it if you checked out Emma Thorne Backstage for more lifestyle-y, chill, vloggy content. I open all my PO Box mail over there. I'm going to start busting into my, I don't think you can see it, but I've got an October Halloween like advent calendar that my mum got me, so you don't want to miss that. Now I must give a big old thank you and a shout out to my giant chickens and colossal quackers over on Patreon. Thank you so very much for watching. Most importantly, have yourselves a very lovely week, and I will see you really soon.